Welcome to the Brady Bunch of Autism, your source for family, parenting, and all things autism and special needs. Created by our family for your family. Live from the Ed Asner Family Center. And now your hosts, Nava and Matt Asner. I'm going to make Faith. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to another Ed Talks.
What is this Ed Talk about now?
Well, first of all, is this our third or our fourth Ed Talk?
This is our fourth Ed Talk.
Our fourth Ed Talk.
And it's an important Ed Talk.
Well, this is Mental Health Awareness Month.
International.
World mental
global.
health. Yes,
Global.
and Chrisa just came back from London, and you said you were seeing signs everywhere.
It was honestly, I was so impressed with the campaign they did there for International Mental Health Awareness Month. They really did such a wonderful job in creating messages for people that might feel alone or not seen. And these little messages would be, I see you, you are loved, you matter. And then there was a hotline to call if people were feeling really in need of some type of mental health services. And they were all over the city. And,
wonderful.
We're in Los Angeles here. I've seen a little bit of that, but it really has been bumped up 1,000% to be able to really get help. People have been really vigilant about trying to get help, especially if they're having some, mental health crisis or just need support.
Well, let's talk about Ed Talks a little bit before we move into our topic. Ed Talks are a service of the Ed Asner Family Center, a program of the Ed Asner Family Center. We offer a free discussion for people to discuss important issues in our community. So our community would be the autism community or the disability community or the special needs community. And we're here talking about important issues that affect families and individuals. And that's what we do on the Ed Talks. So let's meet our panel, shall we?
Let's do it.
Sitting to my left is my co-host and co-founder, Nava Pasquitz-Asner. I'm Matt Asner. And next to us is
Mental health director.
I'm sorry. I'm the mental health director here at the Ed Asner Family Center. And my name is Chrisa Sadd, and I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. And this is a wonderful lady who's a part of our mental health team.
My name is Michelle Tapia, and I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist.
And joining us via the online camera situation are Shannon Penrod. Shannon, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Shannon
Penrod.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm Shannon Penrod. I'm proud to be here, and I'm a mom of an amazing young man on the autism, diagnosed on the spectrum when he was 2.5. And I host Autism Live, and I host a show called Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
Good segue.
Serving it up for you.
Segue. Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson is our other guest. And Nancy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson, as you said, and I am an autism mom. And as Shannon said, I co-host a show with her on the Autism Live network called Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
Thank you all for being here. So we thought it would be an important discussion for all of us to discuss mental health. And, one of the things that I asked someone the other day, and I can't remember, I think it was during our show. Mm-hmm. I asked you, why does mental health or seeking mental health services, why is there an onus to that?
Stigma.
Why is there a stigma?
Yeah.
Why is there onus on that? Or why is there a stigma to getting help? We don't fall under any kind of scrutiny for getting help for physical situation, for
right.
like if we're sick in the stomach or
right.
broken arm or broken leg, or if we have a stomach problem or some other health problem. So why is it that mental health issues why are they not at the same level as physical issues? So why don't we start with Michelle and Chrisa, who are the professionals on our panel. Why is that?
Well, I think one of the reasons that we have a stigma with mental illness is because people can't see it. And, So on some level, we're not sure how serious it is because we have problems identifying with it. And then the other part of it, I think, is because it's that whole you have to get up and keep going and, stiff upper lip and not letting things hold you back. And so I think that there is kind of a lack of sympathy with mental illness.
Well, I mean,
sign of weakness.
Yeah.
People think
Well,
that
especially for men.
if you show vulnerability, somehow you're weak.
And
Well, I mean, I think there's that in physical ailments as well. I mean, I certainly think people will say about a physical ailment, oh, well, suck it up, go to work anyway, get through it, I used to work when I was sick, don't worry about it. But if you're really sick, if there's really an issue and you have a situation where you need help physically, people don't shrug that off. But they seem to do that with mental health. And I just feel that that's a terrible situation.
well, I do also feel, and unfortunately, I really only know a lot of what happens in California. And we do have a lot of, of sort of this need here in California to be open, to be more vulnerable, and to seek out help when you need it. I know in other parts of the state, typically that's not the case. There is that huge stigma that you talked about, Matt, where people don't feel like they could reach out and still get support and feel confident about reaching out, that they might get bullied or, made to feel less than. And
sorry for interrupting, but I think also there is a huge discrepancy too in a man trying to get support, whereas versus a woman. But then as a woman, growing up, my father was a doctor and he had a degree in psychology, and he called all therapists quacks because he thought it was a sign of weakness, and whenever a woman would show any need or she was being vulnerable, and I know my mom, there was always that sense like if you really say that you need help as a woman, especially if you're a single mom, you're afraid you're going to be labeled as like a hysterical woman or crazy
or moody or hormonal
or
postpartum
but I mean, it's always
depression.
that hysterical woman syndrome, and I think, going back to our origins of the kind of the origins of the center, Matt's background is very much entertainment and events and that kind of thing. And you knew that you wanted that part of the center, the pillar of the center. But for me, when I first met Chrisa, I was a single mom. I had 4 kids. I was working 3 jobs, and, I had 2 autistic sons, and I was just struggling incredibly specifically with panic attacks and with general anxiety disorder. And for me, because I was alone and financially, I just couldn't afford to find therapy. And I thought, how can a parent really advocate for their child as well as they could if they had this ability to have this like basic fundamental foundation for their family. Most of our families are single parent families, and as I was. And so Chris and I, we were doing events together, and we'd always talk about, if only we could do this. And we always thought there has to be a way that we can support the entirety of the family, not just the specific individual who might need our services. So I think that was the most important part.
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, for me growing up, I had a father with a lifelong illness and a sister with a lifelong illness, and not just mental health issues, but I noticed how much that my sister needed attention and my father needed attention. And so there were 2 other siblings, and we sort of got lost in the mix a little bit. And I see that with special needs families, that the siblings also need support. The caregivers need support. It's not just the individual, but the grandparents are struggling as well with looking at the way the family is functioning and how hard it is, especially when you have a parent or 2 parents working, that it's like that saying, it takes a village, and we have created a village here at the center. And I'm so proud to say that our mental health department, we have 5 clinicians, and we are almost at capacity, but we really want to provide services to the community, to the autistic, special needs, Down syndrome community. So we do have spots available with our clinicians, but also, it has just been so awesome that the team that we've created and the people we have here, and you guys are so instrumental in creating that as well.
Well, it's an important element to survival. And that's one of the things we wanted to create at the center, is an area where people could, find comfort and find survival instincts and lessons.
But not just
skills.
survive,
But
thrive.
Thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Shannon and Nancy, so you guys are parents, as we are, and of special needs children.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy,
Yes.
I want to talk about something you've done recently, and you've sought help. You've gotten help. Tell us a little bit about your journey and about how that went for you and how it's going for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've had a lifelong struggle with anxiety and depression. I grew up in a home with a mother who struggled with severe anxiety, believed she was bipolar, and she was an alcoholic. I had a younger brother with Down syndrome. She had 3 children. My father traveled all the time, so she was left to cope with that situation. So my experience of her mothering was her always being sad, unable to cope. And then, interestingly enough, I ended up with my own special needs child. And when my husband passed away 6 years ago, I found myself completely going off the rails, so to speak, and ended up with a drug and alcohol addiction, a Xanax addiction, addicted to alcohol as well, on 4 different antidepressants and Ambien. Okay, so we're talking completely over-medicated, but completely unable to cope. I was terrified about raising my son by myself and dealing with the stressors of that and dealing with his autism. So 2 years ago, I voluntarily went into the oldest drug and alcohol women's treatment facility in the country, Friendly House. And first I spent a week in the hospital in detox from the Xanax, which was a very difficult addiction to get out of. And then spent 2 months at Friendly House dealing with my addiction and getting clean from drugs and alcohol. And since then, I have been in a 12-step program, and I go to counseling. Michelle is my therapist. And, have tools now to deal with my issues. And, you're only as sick as your secrets. And so I'm very open to talking about this and making people aware, because I do know lots of special needs parents who suffer from addiction issues, depression issues, anxiety issues. And I just want to be the voice of encouragement for them to seek help, because, I was on a path to total destruction.
Incredible.
Nancy, I mean, your story just speaks so highly of such courage for you after the passing of your husband, to finally seek out that help. What was it? Was it a friend? What was it that led you to go to the treatment center?
I knew that if I didn't change the course of my life, I was going to die. Literally. Mm-hmm. I couldn't function anymore. I was a zombie. And I knew I couldn't be a good parent. I couldn't be a good mother to my son Wyatt on the path that I was on. And, I think I just reached the point of desperation where I said, I can't do this alone anymore. I've got to have help. The writing was on the wall for me that I couldn't continue, going down that street. So I reached out to friends. Shannon was very much aware of it. it was tough.
Yeah.
2
But the
years ago.
strength of character, it takes so much strength of character to be able to say, I'm not going to leave my son. I'm going to, now you're going to make me cry, but I'm going to rise up, even though this is going to be the hardest thing I'm ever going to have to deal with in my life. And that's the mother you are. And that's the model you've shown Wyatt, that you are not going to let him go on this journey alone. You're going to be there for him. And what a wonderful, inspirational thing.
I just want to second that. I mean, what you did took an incredible courage, and facing the unknown is one of the most difficult things we do in life. And you did it with grace and courage, and you continue to do so. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us. Let's say a mom or a father, even who's looking at this right now, who are having issues that are troubling and that are leading them down a dark path. What kind of message do you have for them? What do you have to say to them?
I guess the main message I would impart to them is that you can't do this alone. I felt very isolated. I felt like the burden was all on my shoulders. But just as you know, at the Ed Asner Family Center, that it takes a village, and you try to model that. You have to know there are people that love and care about you, that want to see you get well. And, I reached out to those people 2 years ago to help me and to help me with my son, because I was gone for 2 months. I wasn't there for him. I had to concentrate on my own recovery. But you're never going to be there for your family until you are there for yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
You got to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes, absolutely.
Without
Without
your own oxygen mask on first, you're gonna die, and you're not gonna help anybody.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's a situation in which I'm sure you felt very alone in at the time.
Yeah.
And so my next question is for Shannon. Shannon, as Nancy's good friend, can you share a little bit about your support of her, and maybe a message, as well for the people out there who are looking at this, who might need help?
Well, first of all, I'm not crying. You are, right? As I just sit here and I just want to say to Nancy, and I hope I say this enough, but let me say it in front of everybody, how much I love you and how much I respect you and how proud I am of you, because you walked through the fire, right? And for everybody who loves somebody, when you're watching somebody go through something, it's just harrowing, to watch her go through this and to see that she felt alone, and no matter what those of us around her could say, the truth of the matter was we weren't walking in her footsteps, right? And it's hard. It's hard to watch your friend be in pain. And first of all, there was the loss of Reed, which when you said 6 years, Nancy, it just took me off. I can't believe it's already been 6 years, because Reed had a huge presence in all of our lives. What an incredible man, right? And so not only did Nancy lose, her life partner, but she lost the person who was in the fight to help her son. And to, and I remember, Reed in the last days was saying, if I could, I would trade places with her. I feel so bad that I'm leaving her. That was his worry as he was going, so it was super hard. But, and what I loved about Nancy is, you were talking about how sometimes it's seen as a weakness when you need help. And I wish we would change that conversation around so that we acknowledge that the bravest thing that a person can do is to ask for help. And Nancy did that. And sometimes the help wasn't forthcoming. I think Nancy would tell you that it's no easy thing to get the help. She had to ask for it, and she had to keep asking for the help. And and keep asking for the help. And then she, even after she found the help, she had to walk through it. It's like walking on hot coals. And all the rest of us could do is stand by and watch and pray for her and try to figure out ways that we could be there for her while it was happening. But man, hats off to her, because she did and is doing the hard work. I love you, Nancy.
I love you, Shannon.
I think we,
Matt,
sorry?
you have got a message to other people. I think you'd be surprised. I think you'll be surprised if you're going through this kind of a struggle, what kind of support you will get when you ask for help. Because sometimes I think it's taking that first step that's the hardest.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because maybe there are people out there who are afraid of asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
They're worried that their family won't understand. They're worried that their employers won't understand, because that's a situation too. People are employed. They want to feel strong in their jobs. They want to feel like they're doing something, and they always want to look a certain way to their employers.
Mm-hmm.
So going to their employer for possible help is could be construed in their eyes as a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. It's not. We all know that. So how do we as society move forward in trying to help people? How do we as employers move forward and try to help people and try to normalize getting help? How do we do that as a society? We do it one step at a time. Are any ideas out there from you guys maybe?
Well, I mean, it's like what you said earlier, Matt, that when you have a physical ailment, you go to the doctor. It might not be something that you actually see, but you're comfortable with going to get your cholesterol checked out, or, you have a hurt ankle or a hurt knee. That's stuff that is people are willing to be more in acceptance of. Oh, you're not feeling well. You have migraines. Okay, no problem. But it's the mental health piece where someone's saying, I'm really struggling with depression. And then, I don't know what the employer's thoughts are. It's like, oh no, is this going to cost me money? Are they going to be out? How much time do they need? Are they going to be able to do their job? Which is all of those unfortunate things that I think employers might start to think about. But I think that a person has to stand in their courage and say, this is about my well-being, not just in this time period, but overall. And I need to get myself healthy. And I think, maybe in the future, employers should give mental health days. I mean, we used to have sick days.
Why not?
Right? Like a wellness. And not just on the weekend when we're supposed to be recharging and rebooting ourselves. You can't just live life in a healthy way on the weekend and go back to all the stress and Nava's favorite word, mishigas, during the week.
Mishigas.
Well, I think shows like this, where we see two pillars of our community really be vulnerable and transparent to their, to people who see them every day and think, oh, Shannon can do anything, or Nancy is, the pillar of the community. But to make ourselves vulnerable, I think it's so important, because there, Nancy, you were talking about your experience, and I know personally that there are so many autism moms, like Wild on E. We're autism moms, so we can get crazy and we can drink and day drink because we're autism moms, right? And I know that during COVID, so many social drinking autism mom friends of mine and myself, I didn't think it was a big deal to have a couple of glasses of wine every night, but it became something that I really look forward to. And I don't even want to go to that extent, but I know people who during COVID went from being social drinkers to really having a problem. Mm-hmm. And, a night like tonight, mm-hmm. We're helping mm-hmm. to stop some of the stigma. I know that Shannon was on our show during COVID, and she and I were talking at length about the fact that the uncertainty, the fear factor, you have medically fragile kids, sometimes you had kids that were too young to be vaccinated. All of these issues combined to take people like Shannon and I, who were having anxiety, to the next level. And so Shannon, in one of our shows, had talked about how she finally said that, I need to see somebody. And we had so many people who were
writing and calling and saying, you know, this inspired me. This inspired me to take that, like Nancy said, that first step to get some help for yourself, because we say it all the time. You know, you can't be as good of an advocate for your child if you're not advocating for yourself first.
And that's exactly to speak to Matt's point about earlier, how to shift that is I think people have to really have that self-awareness, and they have to value themselves and believe that they are worth it. And then once they feel that essence, reach out. There's so many multiple layers that you have to go through. Do I have a problem? Do I not have a problem? Do I need help? Do I need to seek out? You know, so there's all these layers, and it might take people months or weeks even before they actually make the decision to reach out. They might think at first, notice something's happening in their life, and then finally make that phone call. And it's heartbreaking when I have to tell people no, that we're full, or my practice is full, or, you know, it is heartbreaking. And so we try to find referrals for other people too.
Well, I just want to say, that's something we haven't talked about. We were talking about how difficult it is, you know, with employers and with you know, with our families, about how we're vulnerable, how we seem vulnerable, and how it's a difficult thing to feel vulnerable in front of our family and employers. But let's talk, and how we want to make it easier to get help. But let's talk about our health industry. Our health industry is problematic because our health industry makes it difficult to get help.
Absolutely. It's a mess.
We have to go through hoops. We have to jump through hoops. We have to, you know, get referrals. We have to find someone who's on our insurance. And it's a very difficult situation. I mean, we alone had to jump through so many hoops to get our kids in therapy.
Or to find a specialist.
Or to find a specialist that's a good fit. And that's the thing. You go meet with someone. They might not be a good fit. They might not be the right person. And it's difficult to find someone on your insurance, you know, anyway.
Sure. But then the other part of it is we have insurance, but then they also encourage you not to use your insurance.
Exactly.
Because if you use your insurance, then the rates get raised for everyone on your plan.
Exactly.
So it's really set up to not get help.
So that's a big problem. So we have to change that too.
Yeah.
We have to normalize getting help.
Can I say one thing though, Matt?
Absolutely.
You know, I started doing therapy, as Nava said, in the middle of COVID, after our dear friend Joanne passed away, Joanne Lara. Like, it was the tipping point for me. And I could tell, because it wasn't my first rodeo with myself, that self-awareness that Chrisa was talking about. I could tell that I was getting to a place where I needed help. And so I knew to ask for it. But I will say that as horrible as COVID has been, I feel like there's been some strides in this area. I was amazed that in COVID, I didn't have to ask for a referral for mental health. I was given a list of providers and told that I could go through as many as I want. The number of hours that I was allowed to use was waived. There was no limit for mental health. I was told that I could do it via telehealth. All of the telehealth rules got relaxed so that I could do it on the phone, or I could do it in a Zoom meeting. And my provider waived my copay, so it was free. None of this I would have known had I not called. So I'm hearing from people that it is so much easier right now. Not that it's easy, but easier because of COVID, and that a lot of places are still giving, you know, discounts or reduced copay, or allowing you to see people that are out of network as in network if there's a waiting list. So I just want to put it out there that in this moment, take advantage of it.
And I will say there are organizations such as the Ed Asner Family Center that offer insurance services and sliding scale services, and we make it affordable, and we make it, and we normalize healthcare here. We normalize mental health services, and I think we need to see that more in society in general. We want to see the need for us not be a need.
Right.
So,
and you know what, I mean, just, you know, we were talking a little bit earlier before the show, and I think what I really would like to start doing as the director is maybe really supporting others with groups, because I love group therapy. We really do learn from each other and hear each other's stories, and it can become really inspirational in helping us get to that next place that we want to be at. And just hearing somebody else's story, like, Nancy, yourself and Shannon, that's inspirational. And I love the face-to-face group. And I know Zoom has been really instrumental in bringing people together all over the world. And it's been a safe place for us since of COVID. But there's still a little bit of a barrier that I just love the connection face-to-face, if we could do it safely with masks or outside. But I would like to see us do some more group therapy. Parents love that. Young people love that. It's just some connection, some energy that you can feel that Zoom is kind of missing. But
I hear you. I hear you. So on the Ed Talks, we like to, what we do is usually talk to our guests, and then we kind of open it up for questions. So we have some questions that have been asked by people prior to this wonderful program. And also, if you're out there watching, please comment, put your question in the comments, ask a question. We'll ask it live on camera to our panel. So the first question is, what do you do when you feel like you've asked for help and none is coming? Who wants to tackle that question?
What do you do? So meaning like somebody finally reached out, they made that phone call, or they've called their insurance company and they've gotten the go ahead and they can't find a therapist.
Yeah.
With a friend.
Let's say they get hurdles put up in front of them nonstop. What do we do? What does one do?
Well, I mean, Nancy, I'm kind of curious, like, did you get support immediately? I mean, look, Shannon's amazing. I'm sure you got support like that. But, do you feel like you were really cautious on who you wanted to reach out to? Or did you just knew you were going to get that support?
Well, I think it was a bit of a process. I do think people saw that I was in trouble before I said, basically, I've got to do something about this. I think the signs were there. People that were around me on a daily basis were starting to see that I was struggling. But it did take me saying, I've got to get help. I can't do this alone. And as soon as I said that, man, it was like the floodgates were open. I had so much support. So as soon as I was willing to admit it myself and say, I need help now, they stepped up. They stepped up to take care of my son. They stepped up to help me find the right place to go to, the right services that I needed, fill in the gaps so I didn't have any worries, so I could focus on my recovery. So once I made that admission, the help was pretty close behind.
I got to say, though, I can think of at least one mom that I'm friends with on Facebook right now that doesn't live close enough that I can go and do anything physically. And I want to speak in generalities, though, too, that I see a lot of our families that have kids that are heavily impacted, that first it starts out where they're saying, when the kids get older, they're saying, I need help, I need support, and they're not finding the support for their adult heavily impacted kiddos. And it's like the trickle down. So now the parents start to have issues, and it's even harder for them to ask for help. And there's one mom who just this week was writing and saying, I'm not going to ask anybody for help anymore because none is coming. And my heart just bled. And I did reach out and I said, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And she said, yes. But, there's a waiting list for my kid for, one of the places that I was saying, she said, there's a waiting list that's 6 months to 2 years. And, my heart is bleeding because I feel like there are some people out there who have said, honestly, what they've said is help my kiddo and then I'll take care of myself. And that help doesn't come. And so there's no time for them to take care of themselves. And we have to wait until it's like catastrophic. I wish that our society would pay more attention to those families that are dealing with some of those bigger issues and provide support before there's a catastrophe. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And as you said earlier, maybe we're seeing strides in that area. Maybe we're seeing, a shift because of the pandemic, because, mental health is certainly getting some attention now, but maybe we're seeing more of a shift to acceptance of people needing help and trying to get them help and normalizing help. Hopefully we are.
Well, I also have to say that, many years ago, Matt and Nava saw a lack in the community, and like, this is how stuff gets born. They, let's do something grassroots. Let's be hands-on. Let's do this for our community. We can only do so much in Los Angeles, but there's online content and all that sort of stuff. So that's just kind of some of, the other programs that we offer here too. And then the mental health, because nobody was doing that. No one was really offering mental health focused on the special needs families. And here we are.
I think your example of that particular mom, I agree with you. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. And it's a enormous percentage of our community. And every day we have parents calling us, telling the exact same story, and that there's no setting for their child, that there's a waiting list. And you're right. To that parent who says, I'm just trying to get through the day, I say, don't listen to anybody else and just do what makes sense for your particular family to get through your day. Because we as parents, even though we have autistic kids, we can't be in that parent's shoes. We don't understand that level of support that child needs, and that it's not just about the support that child needs from 9 to 5. It's 24 hours a day, and it's eloping, and it's self-injurious, and it's more than most people can handle. And, to that parent, I would just say, don't be alone in that. Reach out to Shannon, reach out to us, reach out to your mom's group and your
community.
Just don't be alone in it. Maybe you can't take care of yourself, but don't be alone in that kind of orbiting world where you just are it's all about just getting through each day, because that's helping yourself. That is self-care. Even if it's just about, I remember being a single mom and, getting through each day, and maybe I was going to go through the drive-through of KFC to get milk instead of having to get out of the car with a tantruming kid. That was my way of just getting through the day.
KFC has milk?
Well, the little milk.
She's in
but I mean, and nothing wrong with KFC, by the way.
No.
Sorry if vegans of the world, but I'm saying to that mom, call Shannon, call me. Let's get on Zoom and have a talk and just uplift your spirits. Just if it's only for a moment, then you are helping yourself, even if it's for just that moment. But we need to get some better settings. We have some amazing people in Arizona who are creating incredible new programs and incredible new facilities and residential programs that look like a place that you would want to send your children, not some place that you wouldn't want to send a stranger to.
But Nava, you're absolutely right. When you have somebody that just compliments you or offers you a smile or says, can I pick something up for your dinner and just drop it off? Just those tiny little acts of kindness really make a difference in someone's day. I've read so many stories, and I've heard so many conversations about people said, that person just smiled at me and it just made my day. Something that small can keep you going.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to bestow acts of kindness. That's kind of like my motto. It's like, what can I do? Well, I've been a therapist for over almost 20 years now. And that's like where I've come from, is that to be giving and to be generous with others the best I can.
I don't know if any of you have experienced this during the pandemic, but I probably more times than ever. It's never happened to me before the pandemic, I'll tell you that. And it's happened maybe 9 or 10 times since. You're in line at Starbucks. I go through the drive-through. I don't go in anymore. But you're in line at Starbucks and you get to the front of the line. Your car drives up and the person, the barista says, oh, your coffee was paid for by the car in front of you.
That might have been me.
That was always Chrisa. Every time
I'm like, oh, wow.
I do that.
And of course, the whole thing is you want to pay it forward. You want to do it to the next car. So that's a wonderful thing. And we need to do that more in life. We need to do that more. Yeah. When we go out and when we see someone who, maybe needs some help You know,
or
just-
a friend
just-
who's struggling.
Just do it and do it anonymously. You know, it's just that's a
Absolutely.
wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to be able to think that you might have made someone smile. That's it. Just made
That's
someone
it.
smile.
It makes someone's day.
Nava, do you want to handle that question?
Denise says, hello, everybody. I wish I had caught your program from the beginning. You can watch it again, Denise. We're going to have it on YouTube and on our Facebook page.
Mhm.
But thank you so much. I'm wondering if you offer therapy for all or just for parents of children with autism. So first and foremost, the Ed Asner Family Center is not just for autism. It's for all special needs families. We welcome all parents of special needs individuals and their families. And we do offer therapy for
For all.
parents, but we are full and there is a waiting list. And yes, in answer to your question, Denise, you can have therapy at the Ed Asner Family Center.
Yes. I mean, there's that word neurotypical
Mhm.
that comes in as well, that yes, we have people that couples counseling, we offer couples counseling, not just for the special needs community, but for other people, anybody that's struggling. I mean, you know, they said that this wasn't just a pandemic, it was a divorce epidemic too. I mean,
Yeah.
so many couples struggling during the last year and a half, 2 years. And this is also the theme within special needs families as well. The intense fracture or stress that this might put on a marriage.
Absolutely.
Or relationship.
Absolutely.
Can I say too that one of the things in the beginning, Nancy and I are cut from the same bolt of cloth in that we were both raised that you don't ask for help. And I remember in the beginning when Reed was really sick, it was super hard for her. It was like a muscle that she, didn't know that she had, that she could ask for help. But, we would say to her things like, I want to do something that would actually help you. What would actually help you? And eventually she said to a bunch of us, just every once in a while, bring me when they have those whole chickens at the store that are roasted. She's like, bring me a chicken and some green beans, folks. That would help me because then my child is fed and fed well. And then we green beaned and chickened her to death.
You did. Thank God it saved my life when my husband was really sick with his cancer before he died. He was sick for a long period of time. And, I needed the help desperately. And Shannon put together a meal train. And that was a lifesaver in those days. And, maybe you don't think of these things because you're struggling. You feel like you're drowning. But
it's helpful to know what to do. Because I think some people we could bring chicken and green beans and they would go, that's not helpful. But for Nancy, that was the thing that was helpful. And as soon as I don't know about the rest of you, but I want to be helpful. I just sometimes don't know how to.
And if it's a Costco chicken, it's always helpful.
There you go. But not for the vegans, right?
Oh, damn the vegans again.
I
love vegans.
But
Just
anyway.
do a grain bowl.
No, and I got to say, I agree with Nancy. I think that we've been through very hard couple months. And, when my father.
Shannon showed up with the chicken.
Yeah, when my father died, we had friends send meals for a week or so. And it was a beautiful thing.
We got a 2-for.
We got a 2-for?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Because my mom passed and then literally 2 months later, Ed passed. So we were just getting our heads above water and then.
And I agree with Nancy. You feel like you're drowning. You feel like, you just feel overwhelmed. And I always call it, you feel like you're down the rabbit hole. And it's just, you're in something, I don't know if it's Wonderland, but you're in something. And it's so difficult to even just get up and do, whatever you need to do. But the thought of eating or working on a meal or getting a meal even is something that's just so huge and almost impossible. So friends, taking care of friends. That's a very important thing. Okay. So another question we have, I'm going to let Nava read this if I can get it. There we go. Right there. The middle one right there.
All right. Where are my glasses? I'm very worried about my teen and his depression. It is so hard to know what is overreacting and what is underreacting. Is there a checklist or something? And what is underreacting?
Good one.
Maybe.
Yeah. So depression shows up in so many different ways. You know, Michelle, I'm thinking about moodiness. So for children, young children, maybe
Teenager.
10 and under, you might, so this is a teenager. Question.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, moodiness for sure.
Anger,
sleep issues.
Disturbance.
It could be food issues as well.
and sometimes watching too much Netflix, playing too many video games
Yeah.
is a way of
Too much
that-
Minecraft.
that young people have of self-medicating.
No, Minecraft is actually really good, but there are a lot of video games that so many teenagers, we have quite a few teenagers, but I mean, a lot of them are super violent. You know, a lot of them are about stabbing and shooting, and
It can be a great release.
But
it is. But I mean, I think that if they hyper focus on video games, Milo is shaking his head off camera. It's like
But-
video games are stress relieving.
But I have to say with depression
Yeah.
another indicator is isolation.
Right.
And also you have to be concerned if they're posting anything questionable on social
Mhm.
media. You know, you really want to kind of, you know, what's changed about them? Has it been a drastic change or has it been a slow change?
Right.
Are they isolating from their friends?
I think
Um,
sleeping a lot too. I think teenagers, if their sleep
Oversleeping is an indicator as
absolutely.
well.
Undersleeping is an indicator.
Well, that's more anxiety, undersleeping.
Well,
I'm an undersleeper.
Me too.
So this parent is asking, you know, am I underreacting or am I overreacting? I would say that if this becomes a regular thing, if you're seeing a pattern, if this is something that came on very dramatically, maybe there's something happening at school, he's being bullied or something, some change in their life. It's better to get them some support. What is the negative of getting them support? So
Agreed.
I'm a worrying Jewish mom. I say always overreact.
Well,
That's
but also
my
ask them. What kind of relationship
Yeah,
do
but
you
sometimes
have?
teenagers aren't going to talk
Sure.
to their.
They're going to grunt.
A lot of
and
times.
walk
A lot of
away.
times.
Yeah.
Denise Jaffe had a good comment. Let's put that back up. I know the American Cancer Society offers free house cleaning and other volunteers to drop off meals and run errands for those who need help during treatment. Is there a way for us to start the same type of volunteer program for autism parents? Sure.
Yes, Denise, that's what you're.
started.
That's
Yes,
an app.
please.
That's an app.
No, I mean that's something that I think is a great idea, and it's
There you go.
start it out.
Yeah, I really love that.
Everyone
idea.
should start that up. I think every community should have
Especially if you have
every
a situation where you're a single mom, you have a child who needs intense support, and just somebody who would bring something to your house. That would be, you know, we all should do that as moms. So to have somebody who would kind of relegate and be able to help us facilitate that, I'm all for it.
Okay, the next question. I see my husband. He doesn't talk about things, but I know this is all hard for him. I don't know what to do to get him to talk. I feel like I'm alone, and he probably feels that way too. This is a very common problem for one parent to really kind of dive into it and explore and embrace, and the other parent to.
And I think
being
a lot of
silent.
times as moms, I mean, you were probably more so in that situation, but we feel that we have to get as much information as possible. We need to just dive into it and have something to kind of distract us from this unknown diagnosis in the beginning. And I think dads really don't understand in a way, or they're not allowed to really kind of describe what's going on in their head. And you know, each person is different. I had a different perspective than you did. And I saw my brother Israel's perspective and how his wife really kind of just took up the mantle 100%, and he kind of just ran away. And you know, every single parent who's going through this has a different kind of story and reality. And so I would say to this mom, you know, really consider, I mean, our wonderful Michelle is a marriage expert. You know, she knows that dynamic, and especially with special needs parents. I mean, I don't want to say the percentage because I've gotten yelled at before, but it's really high. It's very high, the divorce rate.
But
in
I also wanted to add to that, Nava, that I think men express themselves obviously very differently. women tend to speak in multiple paragraphs about their thoughts and feelings, and men might give one or two words. So men,
unless you're Matt Asner.
Well, he's enlightened. Matt's enlightened. He
has a feminine side.
He's okay with being in his vulnerability.
I was raised by women.
Yeah,
And
your mom and your two sisters.
Yeah.
I had all brothers, so
Yeah.
No, but I think when, talking about diagnosis and that situation, I think that
I wish that parent had said where they were in that journey.
Right.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Because that would make a difference. And
you're right.
they
You're
were,
right. It does make a difference because I think I know that for me, a diagnosis, I just said to myself, I need to figure this out, and I need to find I need to put it together.
Mhm.
And the most important thing was I knew there were going to be hurdles, and that's a terrible thing. Hurdles are a terrible thing.
Right.
And so that, you can't look at it and say there aren't going to be hurdles. So that sends alarm bells, going through your head. But at the same time, I had this kind of mission inside me, and I said, I need to figure this out because I need him to build his own life
Right.
and to make himself happy and to make himself, to drive himself in happiness. And we're still working on it. It's an ongoing process, but I think, right? That's.
well,
that's-
of course,
Yeah.
of course. You're talking about a 4-year-old versus a 19-year-old, and every kid,
But
we
I
go
think
through
I still have
different.
those thoughts.
Of course you do.
I do. I
But
still
you're
have
a 1 in a million, Maddie. Not to give you kudos because your head is big enough, but
Well, I'm going to
You're
give
a
him
one
some
in a million.
kudos. He's extraordinary. Matt, you're
he's a one.
extraordinary.
He is. He's a 1 in a million, and this woman, the fact that she's even noticing her husband's kind of feelings she's ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the marriage dynamic is not noticing and saying, I wish you would notice more.
But
Well,
don't you think
I
part
am
of-
guilty of that.
You definitely
But
are
don't
guilty.
you
I am
think
guilty.
part of the reason, Matt, why you were so ahead on the game, why you're so extraordinary is you had a brother who was diagnosed, so you'd already gone through it a little bit as a brother. And also, I'm just going to say, because I know this about you, that growing up, your best friend was someone who had Tourette's. And the fact that you were a friend to somebody who had Tourette's way before, it just makes you remarkable, but it also means that you had already accepted that sometimes people are different and that it didn't make them less than before you ever thought of having children, which makes you remarkable. And I think that there are men out there that have never knowingly met a person who had, autism or Tourette's or whatever, and never been friends with one of those people. So I think part of it is the fear that's there. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, someone brought up, I think Michelle brought up in the very beginning of this conversation about mental health, that the fear of something that's not visible, that's invisible. The fear of the unknown is the same thing, the fear of something invisible. So people fear something they don't know. And especially if it seems different.
Sure.
Especially if it seems different. They don't like that. They don't gravitate towards that. Deborah Roger has a question or an insight.
Deborah is saying, Nancy, thank you for sharing and for your inspiration. Thanks to everyone here for highlighting mental health. Matt and Nava, we love you guys. We love you, Deborah, Sebastian.
And then Mitzvah Wellness. Now that our
child is getting older, I just totally talked over you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now that our child is getting older, the longevity of this diagnosis is starting to really hit us. Probably never having an empty nest and making our heart-wrenching decisions for his future has caused us a lot of anxiety lately. Added to the list. Trying to take it one day at a time while planning ahead at the same time. Call me, Shifra. Call me.
I have something to say about that. So I no matter what, never say never about anything.
Yes.
And I know that everyone has different circumstances, and I know that everyone has, a different road they're traveling. But when Will was diagnosed, I was told that he would never do this, he would never do that, he would never graduate high school, he would never, never really talk because he was nonverbal back then, or limited verbal. And he's come so far, and he's really broken all of those no's. He's broken all of the no's, and I'm so proud of him. And you know, don't listen to the voice inside your head that says no. I think that's an
And
important
how
thing.
far that your son has gone, Shifra, with from where he started, and how Shifra created an incredible natural product that has helped me immensely. I mean, tonight is talking about mental health, and I try to be natural and not take pharmaceuticals, and Shifra has created a anxiety CBD non-THC formula that's really changed my life. So, you just need to come in and talk to us, and I miss you, and we're going to get through this together.
And I feel like, I know we're ending soon, but I just feel like overall people need to see their value. They need to believe in themselves, and that, I know it's so hard to do that sometimes, but you're worth it. Your family's worth it. And being a good friend of someone else, it helps you feel a sense of love and connection, and it gives to them as well. And it just helps us be a better community,
Yeah.
for all.
Can I just add to that, on that comment? So much of anxiety comes from fear. It really is.
Yes.
That's what anxiety is fear. And one of the things that brought me to therapy at the Ed Asner Family Center and brought me to Michelle was my complete overwhelming anxiety about Wyatt's future. But what
Yes.
I do in therapy, and I sit down with Michelle and I talk about my fears, I put a name to them, and then I talk about the next necessary step. And as long as I can take those little steps, those next necessary steps, and then turn over the fears, to my higher power, I'm going to be okay. But that's one of the things that's why it's important to get help, so you can name those fears and talk about them and get them out in the open, because boy, otherwise they will haunt you and talk about keeping you up at night. They will.
Yes.
I want to thank everyone for joining us, those at home and those on our panel. Chrisa, Michelle,
You're welcome.
Nava,
Matt.
Shannon, and Nancy. Nancy, you are a courageous woman. You're brave, and it was very brave for you to come on this show and talk about this, and with the honesty that you did. So I can't thank you enough for doing that. And I think you were going to
somebody else.
you're helping people,
definitely did.
and bless you.
Thank you.
If someone wants to see if they can come here to the center, all they need to do is write Chrisa at teafc.org. That's Chrisa at teafc.org. Look for another Ed Talk next week.
Next month.
Next month. Not next week. Next month. But Nav and I will be back next week at 3:00 on Tuesdays with a Brady Bunch of Autism episode. And we just want to thank you. We do this. This is a part of our programming here at the center. You're as part of our programs that we fundraise for. Just like the art classes and the mental health support that we offer. We're a nonprofit, and this is how we pay for things. So please remember us in your donation, in the donations that you make. I thank everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll see you on the next
See you
Ed
next month.
Talks.
Bye-bye.